Hey everybody, it's Mick Liubinskas here from Climate Salad, and just want to talk about a topic that's come up a fair bit recently around how you raise capital, and it's a massive question. So one of the really key things I wanted to point out is that despite what you might see on TechCrunch or see in the movies, most of the time there's not like some extraordinarily wonderful pitch or a meeting in a cafe, and someone's like, "That's amazing, I'm excited. Here's a big investment." Much more likely is that investment comes at the end of building a strong relationship around the company and around the founders and around the opportunity, and also around that traction over a period of time. And typically at least 6 months and at least probably 10 interactions. This morning I got an email from someone on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, we're doing this amazing thing," which sounded great, and said, "Would you like to invest?" I was like, that's like a total cold email, pitch, hoping that I'm going to just get excited on that basis. It's easier to say it, harder to do, but the best way to do it, in my view, is to think about two phases of capital raising. One is building relationships, and then the second is closing, and to try to basically treat them as different points. In the building relationships side, it's actually really generally about meeting as many people as possible who could be possible investors, getting to know them, and seeing if there's a fit both ways. I think if there's too much openness of like, I'll take anyone's money, then typically there's not enough value placed on the company and the opportunity. Obviously, don't be too arrogant or overconfident, but starting by the fact that we're doing this, we're building this amazing thing, we're really ambitious, and we like your feedback. And that's how we typically start: is ask for feedback, build a relationship, get money. Ask for money, you might get feedback. So reaching out really early, when you're way too early, it sounds crazy, and it's hard to do when an entrepreneur is so busy with so many things on their mind. But reaching out really early and building that relationship, I think especially in climate technology, when there's lots of subsectors, there are lots of, it's a new industry in a lot of ways, even though some parts are definitely much older and more mature. But before those reasons, starting by building that relationship when you're early, it's actually freeing and more open for the investor. Like, they're not in that evaluation mode of like, "Oh, are you an amazing investment? Should I think about this?" It's basically just, great, 20 minutes, pitch, have a look, tell me about what you're doing. Again, not pitch for money, pitch the business, pitch the problem, give some feedback. Way too early, you're not even asking for money, great, keep me in touch. And using a mailing list once a month, and keeping everyone who's around the business up to date, as investors, mentors, potentials, like that can be a really good way to build that relationship over time. And then just every quarter, maybe reaching out and giving them update when you have interesting tasks, interesting updates. And no matter what it is, just keep that regularity of communication. Actually is really, really important and valuable. And the other big benefit is you get to talk about your negatives. So if I only have one pitch moment to pitch, you want to talk about everything positive and brilliant. But if I know I'm going to basically have 10 opportunities to do that, then actually saying, "Hey, we screwed this up, we messed up, we lost this sale, this didn't work out," is okay, because then you can come back a bit later and say, "This did work out, I did get this going, and this did really help." I think, again, especially in climate tech, when there's so much experimentation, so much learning going on, so much deep tech, which is obviously it takes longer and it can be more challenging than straight SaaS and software. So all those things suggest that actually, instead of like investing on a dot, as they talk about, they invest in a line. So I met them way too early. They updated me still too early. They updated me again. They're making some progress. Still a bit too early. I met them up. I met up with them, and they said they're doing great. Well, they are progressing. That's getting really interesting. More updates, more updates, more updates. Wow, this is really, really interesting. I'd like to invest. And then they say, "Hey, I'm raising." Like, wow, I'm already interested. I've got a relationship. I know the team. I know the business. I'm much more likely to write a check of any size or invest on the basis of that strong relationship. So, and the goal is, don't, if you're raising $1 million, don't speak to $1 million investors. You need to speak to $10 million investors over a 3 to 6 month period at least, and then whittle that down to maybe $3 to $5 million of interested investors who you like and they like you. And if you've got that amount, then pushing to close significantly increases your chances. Whereas if you start to try to raise $1 million with maybe 100K investor and go up, is really, really hard. So it's not always easy, it's not always possible, but again, think about it, especially in terms of climate technology, this new industry, leaning into it and saying, I want to build relationships first with a lot of investors. That's completely okay. And when I get a lot of interest at the right timing, then I can push to close. Anyway, best of luck. Thanks for listening.